Good evening, it's Friday the 1st of December. I run Tom McLean Positive Belfast channel on YouTube. You probably know that. On my channel playlist is one called Gone But Not Forgotten. And everybody that I'm talking about, highlighting on that playlist is dead. But on this occasion, I'm going to talk about somebody who's not gone, and he's not forgotten, and he's not dead. I'm going to talk about Roy Walker. Why? Because he's such a gentleman, and because he makes me laugh, and still does, and he's such a likeable character. And he was born in East Belfast. Comedy club blurb all about Roy. Well known to TV viewers, Belfast boy born Roy's career started at the age of 14 as a soprano in the celebrated Francis Longford Choir. He was Northern Ireland champion hammer thrower for 2 years, and that's why he looks good even into his 80s. Very physically fit, and he has maintained that standard right throughout his life. He served 7 years in the army, and again, that would have done a lot for his fitness and discipline, and the way he was always immaculately dressed. So he did 7 years in the army before moving to England and becoming a professional comedian, touring in clubs and cabaret. In 1977, he came to national prominence through New Faces, receiving the highest mark ever given to a comedian. I mean, that was something else back in the day. A prestigious mark to his name. Many major TV appearances followed, and in 1987 he became host of Catchphrase. And he headlined concerts and theatre and cabaret engagements all over the UK. I'm not going to go on reinventing the wheel when talking about Roy Walker. I'm going to quote from a very, very smart comedian, and that was, of course, Bob Monkus. And this is how he described Roy Walker to a T. He said, "A well-dressed gent with thick greying hair and a polite air. Walker's soft Irish voice, his lack of aggression, his composed expression, hiding a gentle smile, and his amazing pauses, which defied interruption, somehow overawed and silenced even the worst of hecklers." So what can I tell you about Roy Walker? Well, he's born in 1940, somewhere in off the Woodstock Road, I believe. Not quite sure about that, although my wife Tanya and I did find or come across his mother way decades ago, and we were just coming from church, and we saw this lady who had fallen on the curb, and we helped her up and pushed her down and whatnot. I think we were able to get her a cup of tea and stuff, and she said that she was Roy's mummy, and that was in around Redcar Street, Euston Street junction. So maybe Roy Walker came from there, not too sure. So what of his early days? His teenage years, he was, as said, in the Francis Longford Choir. Ran around on the Woodstock Road. He became a riveter with Harland and Wolff shipyard, and he was into hammer throwing and fitness. he was, remarkably, he was sort of a comedy partner or apprentice to Jimmy Young, yeah, it was our Jimmy. By the late 60s and early 70s, he was back in Belfast working in his mum and dad's fruit shop. And in the evening, he was compere at the talk of the town at Bridgend, and doing very well for himself. He was making his mark on the Belfast comedy scene, and it was noted. He compared and was comedian in various different clubs. He had married Jean, his lifelong love, in 1962, and she was to be, as I say, the love of his life. And they had 3 children together, and those were happy years, except for the time that the Troubles intervened. So this was not a good time. This was in the early 70s, and what had happened was that while Roy was in the army, he had met up with Jean, and as we say over here, she kicked with the other foot. She was a Roman Catholic, and they were living in a so-called Protestant area off the Woodstock Road, and the boys, whoever the boys were, came round calling with a Browning gun and told Roy that he had 1 day to close the shop, which was subsequently burned, as were quite a number of houses in the local area of people that the boys didn't particularly take to. So unfortunately, this was a bad time, and Roy, from doing quite well on the comedy scene in Belfast and getting his toe in the water, he and Jean and the 3 children took to the Belfast ferry and landed up in North England. They headed to Sunderland, and he had to start from scratch. It was 1977 on the talent show New Faces that he made his mark and got the highest score, and things began to happen for him on the back of that. And he never looked back. 1986 catchphrase came along, and he was there for I think it was about 13 years, and he became, not that he ever vaunted this, but he became one of the highest paid TV stars on TV at that particular time. And do you remember the comedians on in the 1970s? And do you remember these names? Bernard Manning, George Roper, Frank Carson, Jim Bowen, Mike Reid, Charlie Williams, Stan Boardman, Roy Walker, Russ Abbott. Today he lives in Lancashire, a seaside town of Lytham St Anne's, and I didn't know this until I did a wee bit of research. He was a regular on his Triumph Thunderbird motorbike riding around the town. So that further endears the man to me, being an old beggar myself. This is Roy with It's the Way I Tell Him, Frank Carson, in Better, Happier Times. Roy says that even today he misses his good friend Frank. This is an article in the Belfast Telegraph, and this is Roy with his wife Jean, and revealed how his beloved wife rescued his struggling career in the 1970s. So without the backup of a good wife, he said he would have been lost. he said he was dying on stage in the 70s. However, his beloved wife Jean came to the rescue by gathering a group of friends to attend his shows and get the laughs flowing. Not good. And you can read this down yourself. And he recounts that time of dying on stage. Unbeknown to me, she had phoned all my friends because I was appearing in this very hard club on the Saturday. And this gave him a huge lift. If I hadn't done as well, I don't think I would have carried on with the comedy, so she saved it for me. And then he talks about losing his wife and how grateful he is for the life that they shared. And I thought that she'd just indigestion. We were both keep fit people and watched our dads, so never thought anything more about it. And the doctors told her that she had a growth in her stomach. Cancer. Thought it was just going to be a routine operation. And Jean died in 1989, and he considered retiring as a performer completely, but would eventually continue his glittering career after going away to America as part of his grieving process. He added, I got on a Greyhound bus, and when it stopped, I got on another one. Some places I'd stay, some places I'd travel through the night and sleep on the bus. I did that all for a fortnight in the same clothes, and I was just totally unlike him. With bereavement, I think you don't really come to terms with it unless you realise how lucky you were. That's the secret to it all. You realise that it was an amazing 27 years, over a quarter of a century. You still feel very sad and may never have the experience again. But once you start thinking how lucky you were and in your career, and to have a wife like that who gave you 3 beautiful children, you start to feel too greedy to want anything more. Belfast boy, Roy Walker. And long may you reign, Roy. You have brought an awful lot of fun and happiness and good times to an awful lot of people. God bless.